I have done my schooling primarily from Bijapur and Bagalkot. ಆಮೇಲೆ PUC ಕೂಡ ಬಿಜಾಪುರ್ನಲ್ಲೇ ಮುಗಿಸಿದ್ದೆ. And then I wanted to study law. So ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಪಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಕಾಮನ್ ಲಾ ಅಡ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ. I took that and Gujarat National Law University ದಲ್ಲಿ I got a seat. So I did 5 years BA LLB from NLU Gujarat. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ I graduated in 2019 and then 2020 was my first attempt at UPSC. That was probably not a very serious attempt. ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಓದಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ and I couldn't clear the prelims. Next 2 attempts in 2021 and 22, I had prepared sufficiently well enough, but still I think there was a lacking in understanding what the exam demands from me. So even in those 2 times, I could not clear the prelims. So then based on all my learnings of all these stages on what prelims actually requires, so I developed the MCQ solving aptitude that is necessary in any competitive exam. Iga UPSC athwa KPSC erudrallu in the first stage, you need to have the skill also of how to solve MCQs. So thereafter, in the 4th attempt, once I cleared prelims, then I cleared the mains and interview, and now I have got this rank. And for the UPSC mains, my optional subject was law because I graduated in it also, and I was comfortable with the subject. So this is a brief background of mine. So Ika, you tell me how you want the session to be. Nimge yaudರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದರೂ doubts ಇದ್ರೆ, or what particular strategy do you guys want? So then we can take it accordingly. So anyone can ask me something and then we can keep it interactive. So take help of the session, because if I just talk by myself, it will not be of much use to you. So if I understand what your problem areas are, then if I can guide you somewhere in that, then I would be privileged to do that. So with prelims, the strategy was simple. So Ika, standard books are the same things that we all follow. Under book list, Ika polity ke same Lakshmikant, and for modern history Spectrum, and for geography I follow the NCERTs only and not GC Leong because adu tumba complex ansitu nange. And even for other things like economy, I follow the NCERT, and these were the basic books. And for art and culture also, I followed the Nitin Singhania, but only glimpsed through that. So the books were the same that everyone follows. And like again, everyone says repetitive revisions are the key for prelims, because once you develop the knowledge base, then you can solve any MCQs. So other than this, coming to the aspect of current affairs, so idralli I did some experimentation because it was a long journey. So again, here I want to say that this is going to be a personal strategy for everyone. Andre, whether you want to read a newspaper every day or 2 newspapers every day, that's up to you. Initially, I used to read a newspaper and make notes of it. Adre, I later realized that it is not very helpful for me to make notes of it. Reading the newspaper is important. Adre, making notes of it, spending 1 hour on just this is not helpful. Anta nanaganastu. So what I instead did was following the monthly magazines. Like illu nan nota idini, the monthly magazines, PDFs, the same ones that are available on the market. Everyone follows those. So here again, what is the important key is that you keep the sources limited. So monthly magazine ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು follow ಮಾಡಿ. Don't go behind 2-3 things, because then you can't revise them. ಒಂದೊಂದು monthly magazine 100 pages ಇರುತ್ತೆ minimum. So for you to read them and then revise them and understand whether you have memorized the important aspects of it or not. And if you don't understand, then go and do a Google search of that. Basically ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅದೇನ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಷ್ಟೇ. ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ನಿಮ್ ತಲೆಯೊಳಗೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ you will not be able to revise and you will not be able to cover the whole thing. So boil everything down to basics. Keep it very simple. If there is some word written in the magazine and you can understand it, then that's enough. Don't memorize it again and again. So current affairs ko I did this, and then last ke ಒಂದು PT 365 ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, the yearly compilation of current affairs. So because if I had done the monthly magazines completely, avaga I used to just skim through the yearly compilation, because otherwise ella repetition ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. So PT 365 ನಲ್ಲಿ I used to look at the index first, ella subjects indu. If I know the things mentioned in the index, then I wouldn't go through the pages. If not, then I would just glimpse through the pages. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೋತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ, ಅದರಿಂದ ಸಪರೇಟ್ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ. So again, this is an individual strategy. I have known people who have not done monthly magazines or newspapers and just relied on the PT 365 compilation itself. So this you have to figure out by yourself. Nimage ಎಷ್ಟು time ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ and what is your daily routine. Like I was preparing full time, I was not working. So I had the luxury of time. So because of this, I could do monthly magazines. but some people would be working, or you may not have that much time to do the monthly magazines. So then you can choose to do the PT 365 compilation. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 2-3 months ಬಿಫೋರ್ ದ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ you can follow some video lectures of current affairs or nim classes ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ, because audio visual memory also helps a lot. So nim teachers hatra ನೀವು guidance ತಗೋಬಹುದು. What are the important things you can ask them, because you are studying here. Take the use of this opportunity that you are given. Interact with your teachers, ask them doubts, take their guidance. So these are the things that you can do, but eventually you have to make the strategy by yourself. Understand what you can feel comfortable with. And moreover, in the prelims, okay, ನೀವು ಎಷ್ಟೇ current affairs ಓದಿದ್ರು, what actually happens during the exam is that probably all those things will not come to your mind. So what helps there is your common sense ashte, because ಎಲ್ಲ foundational knowledge irutte, but during those 2 hours, and now with last year's prelims where the pattern was completely different, so you can't go by this thing that you will remember something that you had read in say January ka magazine. ಅದ್ ನೆನ್ಪಿರಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ನೆನ್ಪಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾಟಿಕ್ ನೀವ್ ಏನ್ ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀರಾ ಇನ್ ಯೋರ್ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀಕಾಂತ್ or ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ರಮ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ರೆಡ್, ದಟ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ದ ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದಟ್ ನಿಮ್ ಸ್ಟಾಟಿಕ್ ಪೋರ್ಷನ್ you have to be very good at it. So thoroughly you have to revise your static books many times, and then the current affairs you do as much as you can. And a general advice is last month before exam, ಹೊಸ material ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಡಿ, because you can't revise. So the last month should be kept for revision of what you have already read, plus taking some mock papers. ಆಮೇಲೆ previous year questions, that should be your source for the last month. Completely ನೀವು very previous year questions ಅನ್ನ solve ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ you will get in that mindset. ಈಗ UPSC ಅಥವಾ KPSC ಯಾವ ತರ question frame ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ and what are the right options, that should be in your muscle memory only. ಇಂಥ question form ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಇಂಥ statement ಇದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಸರಿ ಇರುತ್ತೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ ಅಂತ. So that you will only understand by analyzing the previous year questions. So for the last month, previous year questions and multiple revisions are the key. ಆಮೇಲೆ CSAT ಏನ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್? ಓಕೆ. So for CSAT, the general strategy is that understand that even the difficult question and the easy question, both will give you 2 marks only. So try to do the easy questions. So because CSAT is a game of time, okay? Time kammi irutte. If you are given the paper without time limit, everyone can solve all the questions in CSAT, because it has maths, logical reasoning, reading comprehension. Ashtin difficult irodilla. But given that there is negative marking and only 2 hours time limit, so you have to solve quickly. So illi in general strategy andre try to do a mixture of all of them. Ega for some people maths will be very good and they can do it quickly. For some it may not be good and they are comfortable with reading comprehension. But generally reading comprehension only, one of the problems can be that accuracy may not be as good as in maths, because maths only if there's a right answer and you reach it properly, then you are sure. But reading only maybe ಆ ತರ ಇರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. But ಹಾಗಂತ you can't skip reading comprehension, because that is where you can get the maximum marks, because you can solve them quickly. ಈಗ one passage ಓದಿದ್ರೆ you can answer probably 3-4 questions. So it saves time. And even logical reasoning questions can be similar. So choose your strong areas firstly. So ಇದನ್ನ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ previous year questions again. CSAT ಇಂದನು previous year questions ತಗೊಂಡು try to solve them in 2 hours time. Then you will understand ಯಾವ section is important or easy for you. And in which section, say maybe in maths, you're finding it difficult, then probably focus on improving your strength. If your strength is logical reasoning and English, then maximize on that. So solve more questions on that, but don't leave any section completely. ಈಗ maths ಬಹಳ difficult ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ ಬಿಡೋದು is not a good idea at all. Maybe some questions of maths are very easy. So don't leave any question. If there are 80 questions, then you have to look at all the questions, 80 questions. ಯಾವುದನ್ನು skip ಮಾಡೋ ಹಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. And then devise your own strategy based on how many questions you will attempt in which section. And ಯಾವ್ದು first ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ್ದು second ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು you will only learn by solving PYQs in a time bound manner. So ಈ practice ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೇಬೇಕು. Sir, actually ನನಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ I made this decision. So my last semester of graduation I decided. ಅಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ I was very passionate always about studying law. So ನಾನು ಲಾಯರ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಾನೆ ನಂದು ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ಇತ್ತು. So during my graduation of 5 years, I had done some internships ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ sir in litigation only. So litigation ದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನ್ career opportunities ಇದೆ ಅಂತ first I explored completely. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು 5th year ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಂದು ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ they were preparing for this exam. So ಆವಾಗ ನನ್ಗೆ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು. ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ even I was not aware of it. ಅದೇ so now that I'm looking at youngsters here, they are more aware at this stage and they have made up their mind to do this. So here the role of parents also becomes very important. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ when we are in school or even PUC or graduation ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದಾಗ, if we are exposed to people in different services, career opportunities ಏನಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾದ್ರೆ, ಅಥವಾ there are sessions generally ಈಗ ಯಾವ್ದೋ ಸಿಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ career guidance ಅಥವಾ career counseling ಅಂತ ನಡೀತಾ ಇರ್ತವೆ. So if you take your children to those places, then they will understand what are the different opportunities in which areas. Then they can get a thought as to, okay, ನಂದು ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಂದು aptitude ಇದೆ, I am liking this service ಅಂತ. Then you give them the opportunity to understand that service and interact with people. Even when I started preparing for this, like during the interview stage also, my father put all of his efforts and tried to get me to interact with a lot of officers. So that helps, sir. So adke awareness barbeku antandre, we also have to do our efforts as students, and also parents role alli sakashtu ide, sir. So ಒಂದು routine antandre, it would change throughout the exam cycle. So the exam cycle is of 1 year. So suppose in the beginning when I had just started, my main focus was that nange foundational subjects ella nandu knowledge chennagi agbeku anta. So then I used to focus the whole day on reading just one subject or one main book and revising that. But in non personal strategy, and then nange, if I'm reading one subject, I like to finish that and then move on to the other. So beredavrige they may want to switch subjects in between. So that's a call that you should take. So nothing at initial stages, I used to focus on first studying everything properly and then making revisions of that. And then looking at the previous year questions to understand yav thara questions varbodu in the prelims or in mains on this subject. So once I have done this for one subject, say polity, I would divide my year into some sections. So just before the prelims, 2 months, and the duration between prelims and mains, those would be designated just for prelims and just for mains. Adan bittu whatever the remaining months of the year are, adralli I would focus on, firstly, it is the first attempt, then developing the knowledge. And in the later on attempts, because the knowledge was already there, here I focused on understanding the exam. So taking one subject, making revisions of it. So maybe reading the book the whole day, and the next day looking at the previous year questions, and then the next day looking at the mock tests or relevant mock tests of that year and trying to solve them. So once I'm done with one subject, then move on to the next subject. And also ensuring that by the time the 2 months preceding prelims come, so alli tanka nandid ಒಂದು cycle ಮುಗ್ದಿರ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. And then try to do one more cycle of revision at least. So at least 2 cycles ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಒಂದು overall general yearly plan ಇರ್ತಿತ್ತು. And then as prelims comes near, then prelims specific ಆಗಿ ಓದ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ start ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. So awaga you are just trying to read the basic books of prelims and then solving PYQs and mocks. But illi the ratio becomes different. Illi ododu salpa kammi agutte and practicing becomes more important as prelims comes near. Aa tharane for mains also. So the time between prelims and mains, this was specifically just to solve mains PYQ and do answer writing. So even for answer writing, my plan was firstly I should understand what sort of questions are coming in different papers. So like GS1 nalli there are 4-5 subjects. So what are the questions that are coming in society? And what are the important topics? Suppose regionalism and communalism. Idrinda prati varshanu one question barate andre, I should focus more on that. And maybe world history in GS1. Even though that's a big subject, questions generally do not come, or maybe 1 or 2 bandirtave. So I do not want to put a lot of time reading that. I would rather put it in, say, geography, from where questions will definitely come. So ee thara analysis ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ I spent good 1 month at least after prelims. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ answer writing practice. So answer writing ನಲ್ಲಿನೂ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ you have to write an answer and do self-analysis. Given that you are here at the institute and you would have mentors and evaluators who evaluate your paper. But before that, there is a very crucial stage. One answer bara takshana, spend time with that answer. Understand neevu, whatever knowledge you had, did that come on the paper or not? And what is your presentation? Because mains, alli, the person who is evaluating your paper, they would not have the luxury of time, right? They would not look at every word that you have written. What they would look at is your paper at the first glimpse and then go through the answers. So make it easier for them to check your paper. It's not necessary that you should have very beautiful handwriting, but it should be legible, and how present your answer becomes very important. So maybe keep it interesting, put some flow charts in between or diagrams, geography or international relations idre, make diagrams of world map, India map, idella hakbeku, art and culturally make diagrams. So these things add value. So what are the value addition points in different subjects and in different papers? So focus on that. So idanna ನೀವು ಹೆಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, the main sources topper answer copies, so which are freely available on the internet. Just look at their mock test answer papers and see what have they done and compare that with your answer. So one best exercise can be yadadru ಒಂದು topper answer copy download ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, and then just see the question and try to attempt it by yourself. Then your answer with their answer. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಮಿಸ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಜನರಲಿ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಈಗ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀರಾ, ದ ನಾಲೆಜ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಕಿಂಗ್. ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ಯೋರ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ದೋಸ್ 3 months ಐ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಫೋಕಸ್ ಆನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸರ್ಸೈಸ್. ಸೊ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ರಿಪಿಟೇಟಿವ್ಲಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಗೆ ದ ಜಸ್ಟ್ 15 days ಬಿಫೋರ್ ದ ಮೇನ್ಸ್ again I would just focus on the PYQs of last 2-3 years so that I get in that mindset. ಈಗ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಈ ತರ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇಂಥ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಗೆ ಹೌ ಡು ಐ ಮೇಕ್ ದ ಆನ್ಸರ್. ಈಗ ಒಂದ್ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಲೈಕ್ 3-4 ಸೆಂಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಒಂದ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅಂಡ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಗಿವನ್ 3 pages. ಸೊ ಪಿಕ್ ಔಟ್ ದ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮೇಕ್ ದಮ್ ಆಸ್ ಯು ಸಬ್ ಹೆಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ಇದರಿಂದ ಒನ್ your speed increases because you don't have to spend time thinking what would be the heading. So take those words and make them as heading and the structure becomes very clear in your head. You will address the demand of the question specifically. So if they've asked 3 things in the question, if you're not making sufficient subheadings, then you would miss the point. So avu ellavunu ನೀವು ತಗೊಂಡು subheadings ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ you will save on time and your answer will be more structured and it will be fast also. So ಈ ತರ this practice has to happen before prelims and mains, that stage. ಆಮೇಲೆ after the mains for the interview, like I took guidance from sir also for the interview. So he told me that the main focus should be on DAF. So ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಅವ್ರ ಮುಂದೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಮೇನ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ನಾವ್ ಏನ್ ಬರ್ದಿರ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಜುಕೇಶನಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್, ನಮ್ದು ಹೋಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಂದು ಅಚೀವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೀಡರ್ಶಿಪ್ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಇದ್ರೆ ಅಂಡ್ ಮೈ ಹಾಬೀಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಫಿಲ್ ಇನ್ ದೋಸ್ ಹಾಬೀಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನಾನು ಐ ಲೈಕ್ ವಾಚಿಂಗ್ ಬಯೋಗ್ರಫಿಕಲ್ ಮೂವೀಸ್. ಸೊ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಐ ವಾಸ್ ಫಿಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಅ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ವಿತ್ ಸರ್. So sir explained ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, if you have written movies, they're not just going to ask you about movies. They will ask you about directors. They will ask you why only English movies or why only Hindi movies. So why not movies or European movies? ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. So if you're very confident that you can prepare, then put it in the DAF. So this exercise has to happen immediately after your mains. You analyze ನಿಮ್ದು ಏನ್ ಹಾಬೀಸ್ ಇದೆ and to what depth you will have to prepare. So for that, I'm sure that you will get excellent guidance here. But you also have to spend some time thinking on that by yourself. So after means the whole strategy or the routine becomes different. You spend a lot of time thinking before the interview and then the reading of newspapers becomes more important during the interview stage. So either the routine keeps on changing as per the exam cycle. But one thing that is constant is that you should be spending a lot of time. If you're preparing full time, then at least 6 to 7 hours of productive studying. Not just sitting in front of the table. I also used to keep a stopwatch. So when I'm studying, I would turn it on. And even if I'm taking a small break, like 2 minutes, I would turn it off. And I would ensure that I am sincere to myself. So nandan log irtitu, ee dina nandu ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಆಯ್ತು, the next day how much. And I used to take help of these study tracking apps ಇರ್ತಾವೆ. So like YPT ಅಂತ ಬಂದಿದೆ, Forest ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. So I used to track my time on that and ensure that one streak ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. Like if you have done 7 hours every day, then it feels bad when you're not the next day. So ಈ ತರ take some motivation from wherever you can. So ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿ stay committed and consistent in your efforts. Okay, good question, ma'am. So for mains, in the initial attempts, I used to prepare some notes for mains. As the problem ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ once we start making notes, we go into that trap that we have to make perfect notes or the best notes. And best is the enemy of good in this preparation, at least, because sikkapate material irutte and we would not be satisfied by just reading one book and making notes of that. We want to read multiple books and then take the best out of all of them and make our best notes. That takes a lot of time and it will never happen because there's no end to that. So I left this after a certain point. So ಒಂದು ನಂದು ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಜೊತೆ ಒಂದು ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ OneNote ನಲ್ಲಿ I used to have some shared notes, but those are not detailed notes, just the keywords and data facts. Other than that, my main sources used to be after the basic books. So the topper notes that are already available freely. Yadatu and tagolli. It need not be one particular person, and it need not be that you should follow the notes of same person for every subject. For different subjects, take notes of different toppers who are kind to share their notes on various online platforms. So easily sikbidutte nimge. If you just type topper notes of some subject, Google search madidru, you can get it, or you can get it on Telegram. Elladru iga toppers in the Telegram channels iರ್ತವೆ where they share their notes. So subscribe to that, like or search on the internet, find their notes, take the notes that are very relevant to you. What I mean by this is, see, as a person, I used to write, like, because I'm a law graduate, I am used to writing lengthy answers during my graduation. But here it changed because ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು lengthy work ಕೂತ್ರೆ time would not be enough. So I needed keywords and in points. The answers had to be in points, and I had to follow a structured method in writing answers also. So for notes also, I tried to search notes of those people who have made their notes in this way. For example, I think last year, 2022, AI All India rank 10th ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. He had shared his notes on the group. They were very concise. He had shared notes in both long form and the notes he used just before the mains. So I followed only the short notes because for me to revise some notes, and if it's of 80 pages or 100 pages, I could not do it. So this was a personal thing again. You would be comfortable reading long notes also. So take a call, explore the notes of different topics rather than making your own at some point. But this does not mean that you should not have your own notes. So here the disclaimer is that ನಿಮ್ದು ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಅದ್ ಯಾವ ತರ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಡೋಂಟ್ ರೆಪ್ಲಿಕೇಟ್ ದ ಬುಕ್ ಆರ್ ಡೋಂಟ್ ರೆಪ್ಲಿಕೇಟ್ ದ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್, ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ದೋಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಆರ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಎಡಿಷನ್. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಈಗ ಎಥಿಕ್ಸ್ ದಲ್ಲಿ you would get the example definitions of various key terms in ethics in n number of books and even notes. So your note should not include all those things again. Your note should include examples or your own definition, unique definition. Make a simple definition. ಈಗ honesty. Okay, what is honesty can be a question. Or ethics nalli, there was a question like, what is a good life for you? It's a very generic question, but you would gain advantage there if you give some specific answer to that, some specific example. So ಈಗ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ಓದ್ತಿರ್ತೀರಾ, ಟೇಕ್ ಸಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಟ್. ಯಾರೋ ಆಫೀಸರ್ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೇದು, ಟೇಕ್ ದಟ್ ಆಫೀಸರ್ ಆಸ್ ಅನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಯೂಸ್ ದಟ್ ಇನ್ ಯೋರ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಇನ್ ಎಥಿಕ್ಸ್. ಆರ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಇವನ್ ಫಾರ್ GS2. ಓಕೆ, GS2 ದಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಲಿಟಿ, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ you can use some examples of statements made by, say, the Prime Minister or the Chief Justice of India. Ivella you get in the newspapers only. So these things should go in your notes. So make a separate notebook in which you write just these value addition points. They will be your base notes for mains. So mains ke hogoginta munchenu just glance through all these things, these various statements, because these are the things you can directly use as your introduction. So ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ದು ಟೈಮ್ ಸೇವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯೂನಿಕ್ ಟು ಯು ಅಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾರ್ ಕಡೆ ಇದಿರಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾರ ಹತ್ರನೂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಮೇಕ್ಸ್ ಯು ಯೂನಿಕ್ is that example that you have collected. No one else will use it. So that will give you an edge. So for notes making, keep it very simple. Use only the value addition points, and the value addition andre ide your own unique examples. Get it from the newspaper or get it from various sources that you're using, but keep them very limited and short. Ashton. Yes, sir.
How did I handle your failure? How did you bounce back from failure?
Yes, sir. Sir, when the journey is long, it comes with its challenges. So assuming that I bounced back very quickly is not right. So I did bounce back, but it took time for me also. So when we talk of any competitive exam, especially of this scale, mental health becomes very important. So there will be ups and downs, and the journey can become very challenging at times. So when you face such setbacks, one is that you should have a strong support system. So ma'am ade mention ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, during your journey there will be a lot of people who are supporting you behind you, and ಅವ್ರ ಭರೋಸೆ ಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀರಾ. ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಕಾನ್ಫಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, because they keep telling you that you can do it. So I relied heavily on these, my parents and my friends, who used to keep telling me even after my failures that, if not this time, then you will clear it next time anta. So that is very important. And along with that, ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ journey ಅಲ್ಲಿ once you start preparing, don't isolate yourself. Like, keep talking to your friends, not just the friends who are preparing with you, but also your other friends, because they give you that confidence that you can, succeed. If not in this time, then the next one. So for that to happen, surround yourself with friends and well-wishers. Talk to them often. Keep some time for talking things other than UPSC or KPSC also. Like general life in the ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೇಡಿ. So when I used to talk to my friends and parents, it would not be about UPSC. Just general ಆಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. So this gives you a sense of stability. ಈಗ this is just an exam ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಿಮ್ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಇರಬೇಕು. I know that this is a very big exam and you're very committed towards your career. But at the end of the day, this is an exam. And if not this exam, then you will do excellent in any other field that you choose. So you should have that confidence in yourself. So once you face a failure, it's okay if you want to take some time off preparing, take some break, and then come back with it. But once you come back, make an analysis, what went wrong. So it's not just a failure because of incapacity or not, you did not have the ability. That is never the case. If you have failed at any stage, it is because there was some problem anywhere in your strategy. So identify that. So I did that for my prelims. So prelims ali, when I did not clear in the second attempt, when I was well prepared. So I analyzed what was the problem. So nange in gottaitu antandre, in prelims, I was well prepared with the content, but I was not prepared with how UPSC asks questions. What are the statements? This analysis I had not done. I had just followed the basic books and done multiple revisions. So I did not know that, there would be about 30 questions that everyone would not know. Nangit gotte iridilla. I thought that you should only mark the questions that you know 100%. But competitive exams are not like that. You should even be marking the questions in which you have like 70 or 80% knowledge. So if you're confused between two options, even then you should mark that answer. You should have that ability to take risks and make educated guesses. So how do you develop this? Idu nan kaltkonde amele after my second attempt. So, but then again, I failed in the third attempt. So, illi in problem I analyzed. So here what I learned is, third attempt nalli, I knew the subjects and I knew what UPSC wants, but I did not know myself. So what happened in those 2 hours during prelims? What it does, because so much is at stake, at least even because it was my third attempt, you feel that you have put in a lot of efforts. And will you succeed here or not, you don't know. So that pressure sometimes gets to you. So in those 2 hours, you have to stay very calm because even an educated guess ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅಂದೆ. But you can make an educated guess only when you're very calm and confident. So probably in my third attempt, I was not that cool or calm. I did not have that self-belief in myself. So then I realized that I need to learn how to stay calm and handle the pressure. So not just in the exam, but in your career ahead as an officer, this is something that you have to have gotten it down correctly. You need to learn how to take the pressure and not get bogged down by it. You should not be afraid of the changes in the pattern. So in my fourth attempt, now the pattern was completely changed. Like when I went to the exam hall and I see the paper, all my strategies went to air. I had decided I will attempt only 85 questions because on mocks baredu, I had realized that 85 is my optimum number. Adre il hogi nodtini, the questions are so lengthy and everything is in pairs, the pattern is completely changed. So that strategy would not work here. But because now I had learned, developed the skill of staying calm under pressure, I realized that, okay, if it is difficult for me, it is difficult for everyone. The pattern is changed, not just for me, right? They wouldn't say that, okay, for Vijetha, we are going to change the pattern. They will change it for everyone. So the level of difficulty still is the same because it's a competitive exam at the end of the day. So this sort of shift in mindset is very important. So after failure, try to analyze what was the mistake. And of course, if the mistake is that you had not revised well, then there's no substitute for that. Your revisions and your hard work, that has to be there. Other than this, the strategy and the mindset shift, that also are very important. So get that down also. So after every failure at any stage, take time to sit with yourself and analyze what went wrong for you. And illinu ನೀವು, you can take advice of toppers. But ultimately, it is you who is giving the exam. And only you know what happens to you during that 2 hours of prelims or 3 hours of mains when you are in that hall and you're writing the paper. Only you know what goes right and what goes wrong. So spend a lot of time with yourself. Spend a lot of time thinking and strategizing. So, anything else?
You were to make the wanted to provide an opportunity to stay or to suggest to ourselves what to do.
Okay, ma'am. Time traveling. Okay. So I guess the same things, ma'am. So one of the problems, like sir had asked me, because it was a long journey, my self-confidence had taken a hit probably because of 3 consecutive failures at the preliminary stage. So because I was a top ranker throughout my academic background, so this UPSC humbles you very much because it creates a level playing field. So it doesn't matter what your academic background is. What matters is whether you have a good grasp of the exam and whether you have a good aptitude to clear the exam. So probably I would go back and tell myself that forget the baggage of failures and just focus on understanding the exam and yourself. And keep your calm and know that whether you have a plan B or not, but if you fail in this, that is not final. Like as success is not final, failure also is not fatal. You will rise above from failure, if not in this field, then in any other field. But having confidence and self-belief are the key. They will take you through success and they will take you through failure. So even now, when I have cleared it, this is just the beginning. There will be a lot of challenges. Actual challenges will begin in the career. So this is a message that I would give to myself. And probably I'm hoping that that is the message I want to convey to all of you. No matter what stage of the exam you're in or what preparation you have done till now, I know that for a fact that all of you are very committed, because otherwise sitting here through so many hours is a challenge, and especially on a Sunday. So if you have taken the time to sit here and listen to me and listen to ma'am and sirs, that shows your commitment towards this journey. So when the commitment is there and the hard work is there, another key crucial aspect is self-belief. So have that and stay open to learning new things and exploring what works for you. Keep experimenting your own strategy, keep planning, revising, because this is a journey that requires you to refine yourself continuously. If you have made a plan today and it doesn't work, then refine the plan rather than throwing it away. Make a new plan or refine some things in it. Make a new strategy. Just keep going. Don't stop at any stage. So like Pallavi ma'am also had said that, it's not necessary that you should always go in a rapid pace. You can go slow also. Take your time and be perseverant throughout the journey. So for Vinay sir also, I think he mentioned that it has been a long journey. So from him also, you can, the one thing that inspires me is the grit that sir has showed, because sustaining yourself for so many years is very difficult. And his attitude throughout, like sir also had mentioned, that he was constantly pushing his friends also to excel. That shows the kind of positive mindset that sir had. So you can learn that from him and, retain a positive mindset in yourself. So that's the message to myself and also to you guys.
What is your
Okay, so the civil services offers diverse opportunities. So in the initial stages of the preparation, I too was not aware of what are the different services that you get through the UPSC. So only when I was done with my mains, I realized that, okay, there are 21 services and it's not just IAS or IPS. So the initial goal, of course, is that you should be in the services and give back to the society. So my passion is towards the law and public policy. So my main focus had been that through law, I should ensure that I am helping people secure their rights. So a rights-based approach to social welfare was my vision. But as now I'm stepping into the services and I've explored what are the opportunities in various services, like be it the IPS or revenue service, or, there's a corporate law service also. So after exploring work profile of different services, I realized that every officer in the civil services has their own unique role, and everyone is very crucial to how our nation is developing. So now my vision is that in whatever role and capacity I'm given, I should ensure that I'm bringing my best every day. So that's the vision for now.
for somebody who's taking the for the first time and no idea back what would be your key mantra to what's the principle and main concern now because would come up in
Yes, ma'am. So here for the prelims especially, prelims is the stage where a lot of cancelling out happens. So here for someone who is just stepping into the preparation, my advice would be that spend a lot of time with the previous year questions of prelims so that you understand what prelims is all about. And also when toppers tell you that, see, there are 30 to 40 questions that no one would know, believe them. Don't think that anyone is, superhuman and they would know all the answers. No one knows all the answers. So have this confidence. And also learn that there's always a trend in the UPSC. Okay, so last year, even though the pattern was changed, the options were different. Now you had pairing questions. And we could hear after the paper, everyone kept saying that elimination is eliminated. So, that's not really true. If you boil down to the question itself and look at the statements, then you see that the statements are similar to the last year and they're not going to change. So what is changing is how the question is framed. So first, foremost step is know the syllabus and know the previous year questions. Make a good analysis of all the previous year questions. At least take last 5 years in a hard copy and go through every question repetitively. Have it boiled down in your head. So if someone makes any random statement to you, you should understand whether UPSC can give such a statement in your question or not. So develop that mindset. And this you can do by yourself by looking at the previous year questions, or you can take guidance from seniors and mentors and faculty members here. So understand the exam. That is the first main important thing. After that, you can understand what subjects you want to focus on, what are your weak areas and strong areas, and make that analysis for yourself.
What?
Yes,
What?
yes, ma'am. SWOT analysis, exactly. So, what are your strengths and weaknesses? So, for me, I was a lawyer, so polity came very easy to me. But probably something like economy and science and technology were more difficult for me. But for someone else, maybe that's the reverse case. Polity may be difficult for you. So, that is something that you should understand by yourself. So, this you can do by the previous year question analysis. Understand from which subject what is the weightage of questions that are coming in. What marks does which subject carry? So once you know this, then you will understand what subject to focus on. Yes. Ma'am, on a journey as long as mine, not one, but I would have hundreds of role models. Like today, when I'm meeting ma'am, she's my role model now. So at every stage, I have been lucky enough to find several role models. But specifically towards the exam, so like I mentioned that my friend from college was preparing for the exam. So she had begun her preparation in third year itself. This was a 5 year long degree course. So she was a close friend of mine and she was preparing. So I had seen how she's preparing, the commitment that she had. So even during our university farewell function, she would not attend. She would be in her room when all of us would be outside celebrating. So I saw the dedication in her, and that probably I think she's Kritika Goyal. She secured the 14th rank last year. So now she's an IAS officer. So she probably was my role model for the exam specifically. And I saw how dedicated she was, like not just in the college. After college, even for her, it was a long journey. She cleared it in her fourth attempt. But throughout, she used to, not regret even a little bit because at this age, even though we try to stay away from social media, we fail at times and we do compare ourselves with our peers in other fields. So we see that, okay, they are all well settled in their jobs and careers and earning, and we are probably not. And there's no certainty also. Like, will we clear it this time or not? Or if not this time, then another time means one whole year. So a lot of these things come. But when I looked at Kritika, I saw that she's not doing these comparisons at all. She's so focused. She knows that this is what she wants to do. And was my inspiration. And also because of her, I got the belief. Like when she cleared it last time, then it made me realize that, okay, when she has done it, I can also. Today, I hope that by talking to me, you guys can also have that because self-belief is the first thing that you should have. So every one of you today here would be on this side of the stage next year if you have that confidence in yourself. So I really hope that you do develop that. Yeah.
How often class training? How is to cope?
Okay. Several times a day. See, this exam requires a lot of hard work and you will feel exhausted several times. Fatigue level will be reached. But that should be limited. So because once you are starting this journey itself, you have made a commitment to yourself that you're going to put in the work. Because otherwise, you can't sustain yourself for these 1 year. Or even if you're clearing in one attempt only, that will still be 1 year of preparation and 1 year of the exam cycle. So 2 years at least you're committing to this exam. So don't shy away from the hard work, but also don't fear the fatigue. It's a privilege also to feel exhausted by studying here because you can get tired by doing anything. So if you're studying for 7, 8 hours and you're feeling tired, then enjoy that. So reward yourself also. Yes, ma'am. So correct, ma'am. Correct. So actually, those days when I was tired by studying, I would feel very happy that at least today I've studied so much that I'm feeling tired. So count your hours, but count what is the value you brought to your hours. Even if you're studying for say 4 hours on any given day, but if you learned something new and it's helping you in your journey, that's a great day. So keep this attitude. Don't be afraid that you're feeling tired. And if you're genuinely feeling tired for some days, take a break. I used to spend some time watching movies because I really enjoy that. And I used to spend a lot of time with my pet cats. So that was my stress buster also. So have something like have your own hobbies, spend some time doing that so that you come back rejuvenated. So make it easy on you, but don't shy away from the hard work. Yes, ma'am.
Your No, it's not okay. What the plan?
Uh, Ma'am, being a law graduate, I consider myself a law student for life. So my fallback option has always been law. Like I mentioned earlier, I am very passionate towards litigation. So that was my first career choice. So the UPSC came after. My first commitment had been towards litigation. So that would be my second option, if not this. So, but ma'am, in this preparation, as important it is for your mental health to have a plan B, sometimes plan B comes in the way of your first plan. So while it is safe to have a plan B, like I'm sure you would all have done good graduations and you would have that degree with you. You can always fall back on that. But don't think a lot about this because, once you start doing, then sort of you give that leeway to yourself that, okay, I have something to fall back on. Probably it's okay if not this time. I mean, it's definitely okay if you do not clear it. But be so focused on your plan A that you don't think a lot about your plan B. But if having a concrete plan B helps you and gets you good mental health to prepare, then definitely go for it. For example, this time I had appeared in the common law admission test PG again and secured admission in the National Law University Bangalore for an LLM. So if not this time, I would have gone then and pursued my higher studies in law. So that was always an option. And I'm sure for every one of you, studying further and then refining your skills in your own domain is always an option. So, but again, in this also, my advice is that focus mainly on this one goal because the more you deviate, the harder it becomes. And, this concept of opportunity cost, like when you're doing something, you're missing out on other opportunities, be it in your own career, maybe you're engineers or doctors or other degrees, if you had chosen that, you would have had different opportunities and you would have settled in your careers probably by now. So that cost, it gets higher every year as you go in this preparation. So for that, my advice again is just focus on your one dream. Don't think a lot about your plan Bs that can someday come in between. Yeah.
Deviate with some options. Relax. Is always like relax,
Correct, ma'am.
not the opportunity.
Correct, ma'am. Yeah. So for history, again, I could not remember a lot of details in history. So I wouldn't consider that a strong subject for me either. So I try to keep it very simple. So I mainly, again, I had done the analysis and realized that in prelims at least, a lot of questions come from spectrum or the modern India part. And ancient and in medieval questions generally come from such sources that are not mainstream. So if I'm not able to answer that, the chances are that a lot of people would not be able to answer them either. So I stopped focusing a lot of time on ancient history. I focus mainly on the strong areas of modern history. And here also, I kept it limited to the spectrum book. So initially, I had studied the NCRT also, but I realized that keeping multiple books is counterproductive. I would not be able to revise it. So I only did the spectrum. And again, I did not make notes of it. So in spectrum, there is a summary after every chapter, right? So I used to revise the summary pages of the spectrum. So apart from this, one more thing I had done is I had made a compilation of just the chronology, like important events and dates in just 3-4 pages and taken a printout of that. So just before the exam, I would only look at this. But again, even in modern history, if you see, the Indian national movement part is the only thing from where questions come regularly. So this has to be your prime focus. So boil every subject down to their basics and understand from which part of that subject a lot of questions come. So understand the exam and important portions and focus mainly on that. So don't see history as a whole. See it as ancient, medieval, modern, and even in modern, the Indian national movement, and focus mainly on that. And from post-independence, generally questions do not come. So be it in prelims or even in mains. So mainly focus on the Indian national movement. If history is your weak area, then try to play your strengths. If you can remember only limited information, then limit that to the most important part of that subject. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay, so ma'am, what books to follow is a personal strategy for everyone. I tried to do GC Leong earlier when I had just begun the preparation. So once I started understanding the paper pattern in prelims and in mains, I saw that especially for mains, a lot of questions are coming directly from the NCRT concepts, right? So for me, reading GC Leong again would be very cumbersome because it's not even a very interesting book. Like it has a lot of text and in small font. So I felt that NCRTs with their diagrams, which can be directly used in the mains exam, the maps, everything which can be directly used. If I just revise that multiple times, it will help me better than trying to understand GC Leong because GC Leong has a little more advanced text than the NCRTs. When everyone is doing NCRTs, so if even I am doing that and I'm doing that well enough, so for me it was good because studying GC Leong would add another layer and take up a lot of time. So my preparation at that time was not such that I wanted to spend more time on another book. So instead, I chose to do the geography NCRTs thoroughly. But for geography, especially, I tried to also look up different concepts on YouTube. So probably like the international date line, how it changes, etc. These concepts I got it from various free videos on YouTube. So understanding the concepts is more important rather than which book you follow. If you're comfortable with GC Leong, then great, because that's a very good book. So, but make that decision by yourself after reading some pages of both the books and doing previous year questions of mains specifically for geography.
How was your approach for department? It's a dynamic subject. It has more to add. In key terms, we ask. And there's a lot of things to be done. What was your approach to that?
Okay. So, like I mentioned, economy was one subject in which I had to spend a lot of time also because in economy, especially having very good basics is the only key because even in prelims questions, they ask you questions assuming that you know the key concepts. So, if you do not know how capital flight occurs and how the rates in USA will affect investments in India, then you can't answer questions. So for this, what I did is when I had done the NCRT, but that doesn't help a lot with basic concepts. So again, I referred to some video explainers on YouTube and general Google search. Like if you want to understand, say, what is the difference between bank rate or repo rate. So just do a Google search. And if you don't get it there, then on YouTube. And again, on YouTube, especially just before the prelims, there are a lot of crash courses, especially for current affairs. So I used to follow some of those, like maybe of Sonia IAS or say, I think Byju's had that last year, or now the teachers are gone to some other institute. But find that one teacher whose explanation you find helpful, follow them for some difficult terminologies in economy. And if nothing else, then you will get several videos on YouTube freely. All you have to do is spend some time trying to understand what is the term that you're finding difficulty with. And once you note that down, have your own simple definition of it, like make some diagram or a formula. So for me to understand how interest rates in US affect our investments here, I had a formula in my own way. Like I had written that in my notebook. So every time some question would come, I would see that. So after to spend some time by yourself here and understand the basics. There's no one source. I can say that for economy. Try to be a little creative and search on the internet. Okay. Is there anything else? Okay, so if nothing else, the only last thing that I can say, yes. Finally, the only thing that I want to share is that every journey is a unique journey. Okay, I am here talking to you, but I'm just one of you. There's nothing special about me. So what works for me may not work for you. So take from me only the core things that I have said and try to apply that in your own journey because your circumstances may be different from mine. Your interests may be different. Your optionals may be different. And the stages of exam that you find difficult may be different from mine. So what is the common thing between us is that all of you and me, we have this dream that we have to crack this exam. So we will all do that. So you guys will make your own strategy, but spend a lot of time with yourself and with the exam. So to clear any competitive exam, one, understand the exam. to understand yourself. With these two things and with a lot of hard work, not getting deterred by failures, you will surely clear the exam very soon, but have self belief also. So that's all. And in case you guys have any doubts, you can, I guess I'll share my email ID with sir, and you can ask me for any doubts if you have at a later stage also. So all the very best to you all. Thank you for being a lovely audience today. I hope I did not bore you a lot with the details.